Do you take that in the bath with you? Is that it? Is that one of your bath toys?
It depends on what's happening, you know. Yeah. Hang on, I got to get an enemy.
This is Karen
Okay.
with newclevelandradio.net. And today it is time for Michael Gersh, Empowerment and More. And I'm not sure we're going to be empowered so much today. I think we're going to be laughing a little bit because Michael has on a very funny guy. Some of you might recognize him. He's won a number of comedy contests. And I love going to see him at the comedy club, Mr. Greg Morton. So, Michael, how did you get to know Greg?
We met over 20 years ago at the old Akron Hilarities. We were working together.
It wasn't on Tinder?
Not the first time. I think the first time you swiped left on me, and then we had to try again. So it was on a Star Wars match page, and but many moons ago in a galaxy far, far away, we met, and we were working together. And you know, as comedians do, you get to know one another. And you know, I will say this: Greg, and even when I was probably 4 or 5 years into the business, and he still is one of the nicest people you would ever meet. And for other comedians, he watches your set. He's very, he mentors people well. He'll watch, he'll listen, he'll critique because he wants the best out of everybody. He wants a great show, but you know, he takes people underneath the wings, and he has great interest with people, and you know, there's no ego involved with them. And you know, over the years, you know, we just formed a really tight bond. And you know, he was the one for people that read the book. And during that first week, we're talking about, hey, you know, what do you do, or your background? And once he heard my story, he's the one that made me promise to write the book all those years ago. So it's really his fault that we have it.
I'm glad we have this book. So, Greg, what was it about Michael that wanting him to write that book?
Mostly for money. I thought that maybe split the money with him, the proceed. No, actually, I just thought it was such a great story, and I've been in that situation before where I know if you want to be, and we talked about this, you know, Michael said to me that he'd like to do something to change the way people think about drinking and driving, something he could do proactively. And he talked about his ambitions about becoming a public speaker. And I said, well, you know, if you want to be a public speaker and you want to be taken seriously, you have to write a book, you know. And when he told me his story, I couldn't believe it. I go like, that's a great book right there. And I said, promise me you'll have to do this. You got to write this book. People have to hear your story. And well, here we are. What is it, 20 years later?
20 years later, it's finally done. Right. But what you heard was always so brief, because Karen, when he heard that my mother was killed by a drunk driver and I barely survived, that was one part. And then when he heard about the part about Dolly being raised by, you know, a Jamaican woman, you know, those two together, I remember that like it happened yesterday, right before I went on stage. He's like, you got to write this book. And you know, he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and I'm about to hit the stage, and, you know, he takes his hand and go, tell me you promise. And we're shaking hands, and he's not letting go until I say I promise. And it was after that I started to slowly write the story. And so many things have changed in those 20 years. But it was nice when I finished the principal writing a year ago in January, where we worked together, I could finally look my friend in the eye and say, I fulfilled that promise to you. And that meant almost as much as writing the book, because I didn't want to let him down, you know, and every time I would saw him or talk to him, I went, I gotta, you know, fulfill my promise. So, you know, I got there over time. And, you know, if I wrote it 20 years ago, it would have been a lot different. But, you know, Greg could tell you, you know, we chatted a little bit how it impacted him, you know, grief process. And one of the best compliments he ever, you know, said to me about the book was one line that he was, you know, he would cry, the next line he was laughing. And that was that really hit me hard because it was just one of those things I wanted to keep doing, like my program. You make them laugh, you make them cry, you make them think, and it was just a huge compliment to me that he paid about writing about what he was reading, and how well he connected to so much of it was pretty humbling as well.
Well, I found the same thing with the book, and I think I told you, I'd be reading it and I'd be feeling very sad and, you know, trying to get into your shoes, and all of a sudden there'd be another paragraph, and it'd be like, well, this isn't so sad anymore. This is fun. Um, and getting to know you through the book has been quite interesting because you have so many different sides to you. And most people don't get to see that many sides of a person.
Right. Yeah, I try to hide some of it, but, but you couldn't in the book because it was like I'm all in,
Right.
and that was one of the pluses I think of finally doing it, because when you speak, you only have an hour or whatever it is, and so much, but that book, it's like how many pages it is, and I think my writing coach pushed me to those dark sides even more so, and it was nice to do, because and then like you or Greg, whoever reads it, you can relate to some of those things, because we all go through those type of issues in our lives, but we just don't want to admit it sometimes.
So, Greg, what was it about Michael's story, you know, that really grabbed you at that moment and you made him promise, hey, you have to write this?
I think it's just instinct. I purely because just going on emotion and instinct. I heard it and I just knew, and that flashed in my head, and I said what I always say what I mean. And
Let's be honest. He just wanted me out of the sound room and on stage at that point in time. He didn't want to talk to me anymore. He's like, you know what? You got to go on stage. Let's go.
But you know something? I've been in that situation before with was another comic, and he was a blind comic, and I said to him, I said, well, you should write a book about your story, and he said, yeah, and he never thought his story was all that important, and he never did write that book. He never did, and I said that, but Michael, he did. It's just that with Michael, he was still living the story as he was writing it. And so it changed, and it went through a whole progression. And I think this was the perfect time for the book to finally come out. The story is just so incredible, and it's so engaging. And I could hear Mike's voice throughout the whole thing. It was really cool. Very good and very well written. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It means a lot, because, we talked all through the years, Karen, we joke a lot, we text a lot about Star Wars and, movies and video games and all this stuff. So we bonded not only just because of comedy, but our love for Star Wars and, superheroes and all those type of things. So when Greg comes to town, we have a mandate. We perform, we have lunch, we go see a movie. If The Rock is in it, even better. So, it just wasn't the comedy, but, and that's what the beautiful thing is, because when you have friends who are road comics like Greg, you see them once a year if you're lucky, and you make that time count. And, you meet a handful of people that you become really close with. And I've been fortunate that he's been one of them, to see him on America's Got Talent and go, I know that guy, he's a friend of mine, and be proud of him, on that show and what he did, for me was fantastic, because you go, here's a friend of mine succeeding, and going for that golden ring. And I was so happy and proud of him.
Well, my feeling is that we're all in this together, and we're all trying to figure this life thing out. And if we can help each other along the way, I mean, why not? That's the way it should be.
Well, Greg, that's a great way to be, but so many people in the industry aren't that way. It's all about me, me, me. And when you find people like you and Michael that care about each other, that means that there's a special bond. And isn't it too bad that we just can't take that into our society as a whole? I'm watching the two of you, and, you're a black man, he's a Jewish white man. And typically in today's society, we think that you're at odds, but you're not. You are brothers, truly brothers.
For sure.
So how were you brought up that you can feel that way?
My mom and dad were, they just told me from the get-go that, listen, this, this is not going to change. You're going to have to learn to get along with people. And that's the way it is. And at every opportunity, I try to do that. Every time I meet someone, I take them at face value. And if they show me something different, well, then I have to believe them. But otherwise, I treat them as I would like to be treated. And this doesn't mean anything. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I just walk around feeling like me. I don't really, unless I'm reminded, I don't think about it. I've never agreed with that. I've never felt that and felt comfortable with that. So I guess I feel very blessed to have that, even though I will say it has been very challenging, especially as of late, because right now we're living in a powder keg right now with so many emotions and things changing, and a lot of people don't feel comfortable with this change. But, sometimes change is good, and we just have to be patient. And once we get to that other side, we will see. And if not, well, we'll be dead.
That's all the time we have for this uplifting show.
Well, no, but you know what I mean, right? I mean, people
Right.
who don't want to change, they'll be gone soon, and they'll see that. I mean, we're all here to learn lessons, life lessons, and we're all each other's teachers, aren't we? Right? So I think that. Well, anyway, I don't want to get too heavy about. Well, it sounds like I'm almost preaching in a way, but I really believe this strongly, and I've always tried to. I just think that's a bunch of nonsense. This prejudice and racial tension. But what's cool about it? As a comedian, you can have a completely different conversation because we're observers of people, of society, of culture, and we're commentators on that. And we have different insights than other people do. We have more time to sit around and think about these things because we're writing about them. And when you see these aha moments and the light bulbs over people's heads and the laughter of recognition, you're saying some truth if people start laughing, because when the old saying, it's funny because it's true. So we'll get there.
So have you had a chance since COVID to actually get back out on a stage yet? I know Michael did, and I heard that he had these great audiences of 8, 12, and 10, something like that.
Yeah. But an audience is audience, and Greg would tell you, sometimes you have 4, sometimes you have 2, but look, those 8 people came out to laugh and be entertained. So, where's the other 90 people? Who cares? Those 8 people want or starved for entertainment. And it was one of the best shows that we had, because you could interact with them. You could almost do anything you want. And they're so hungry to laugh and not then to escape. It was incredible. And, that's the thing as a comedian or a musician, the show still goes on. Yeah. Do you want a room that's sold out? Of course. But in today's day and age, it probably won't happen, like it used to be. But we take what we can.
Well,
and that could be a pretty big room, can it? With 8 people in it.
Right.
and a sold out crowd could be there booing you too, whereas you had 8 people cheering you on. So,
Right. That's true too. Yeah.
And I sent all 8 of them to be there that night.
Great. Great.
So, Greg, what got you started in comedy?
I've always had a love for it, especially film. I've always liked to film a lot too, but comedy the most. That's the one thing that I shared with my father. And we used to go out and watch funny movies. Funny story, the first movie my dad took me to see was It's a Mad, 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 Mad World which had every famous comedian in that movie, and we laughed. And ever since then, we always had that bond. And but I never knew you could make a living at it. And I did skits and plays and sketches in school. I guess that was me getting prepared for my eventual role in this. But originally, I never thought I would get into comedy. I thought it was going to be art, because art was my first love. I mean, you give me a piece of paper and a pencil, and I'd sit in the corner drawing quietly and making, funny noises and voices to go with the drawings, making those drawings come to life. And I thought that animation was the best use of all of my talents. And then when I discovered comedy, it's not like I discovered it. I always knew it was there from comedy albums and watching movies or comedy specials. And I've always loved it, but I never knew you could make a living at it.
So what was it like to be on Last Comic Standing?
Being on the show on AGT, it was really exciting, because I'd always wanted to be in show business, and it really felt like you were in show business. People fussing over you and putting makeup on, and rehearsals, and the lights, and the big huge stage, and the huge audiences, and it was so the adrenaline, just incredible. But I feel like at that moment I was ready, more than ready. You know how they say that you need to put in so many hours. Well, I had certainly put in my time. And so that by the time I got there, it didn't even bother me. People said, well, weren't you scared being up on that big stage? And I thought, well, yeah, I was, but I worked so long to get to that place. I wasn't going to go, I'm not going out there. No way. No, that is dangerous to go out there. That is, I'll just sit here and pull a pillow over my head.
I love it. So I have a question for you, Michael. Is something like Last Comic Standing something that you want to achieve?
No, not at all. No. No, I don't need that type of stress and pressure. I have people go my comedy over a fine-tooth comb. Go, you can't do this, you can't change that. I think years ago, if I wasn't doing the magical life type of stuff, then perhaps. But I think I've given myself, I always had that battle of comedy versus the speaking part, and I combine the comedy with the speaking where it's more meaningful and I have more of a message and more of a purpose. Like Greg and there's other, people who are, the comedians, that's for them, that's their sole purpose. I have this, let me go change some lives. Let me inspire people to make a difference, and let me combine the two. So no, that's something I don't have any dream, I guess, of doing. Not at all.
So your comedy really is the combination to get people to listen to your message and give them a lighter way to connect to it.
Oh, sure. And we do the comedy up front, because especially for DUI offenders, they come in, they're angry, they're pissed, they don't want to be there. And if you could reduce their tension in that 5 to 10 minutes, then you could take them anywhere you want, in the journey. And that's been the best part about it. In any audience, whether it's a high school at 7:00 in the morning, when they're in the theater and they go, I don't want to be here. They go, I'm going to have a guest speaker on, for your pre-prom on drunk driving. Oh, I don't want to do that. But when but when you make them laugh, they go, well, what the hell are we doing? It's a little bit different. And when you get to the hard and the serious part, and just like in the book, you feel that in your soul, and it means a lot more. Whereas if I just came out in the first 2 minutes of any program, go, hey, I was hit by a drunk driver, my mother was killed. They don't know me. There's no connection with that audience. And I think the comedy really helps. And even when I get to the serious stuff, I still make them laugh, because the human spirit can only take so much at once.
Exactly.
So you bring them back to feeling human again, and you go back and forth. It's that emotional, roller coaster, so to speak.
That's right.
Greg
And
will tell you.
Michael was given the perfect set of tools to live out his life purpose. And I believe that Mike is living his life purpose right now, to communicate that message, make a difference in people's lives, and save some lives at the end of the day too. I think it's really important, and I can't be more proud of this person. I mean, man, you know how hard that is. I think as artists, we all have more than one skill, and but if we can take them all and combine them, throw them in a big mixing bowl, mix them all up, and come up with something original, come up with something that will truly make a difference, and live our life purpose. That's so important. Most people go through the day, they don't even, 9-to-5 job, I gotta go there, I gotta make this much, and then I gotta get rent money, and I gotta pay for my cell phone. What is that? That means nothing. That's nothing. You have to think about these things. I don't think people pay attention to what their life purpose is, because everybody has a life purpose. Everyone does.
Do you think it's because we live in a world that has told us from a very young age, you're going to go to school, then you're going to go to college, and then you're going to have a career, and then you're going to have a family. And, so many people weren't allowed to dream during their life.
Yes.
Dreaming was for when you go to sleep at night, but when you wake up in the morning, be realistic. And I remember when I was going to college, I told my parents that I wanted to be in broadcasting. And my mother and father looked at me and said, no woman is ever going to make it in broadcasting. And this was 1968. And I said, I could be the first one. And they looked at me and they said, no, become a teacher or nothing. So I lied to them and I went to college and they knew the courses I was taking. When they found out, they pulled me out of college.
Really?
They said, you're wasting your money. And I went back and got my degree in 2012. And my mother said to me after I got my degree, are you a famous broadcaster? And all I could say to her was, I certainly am on my own radio station. But I finally was allowed to dream. I was old enough and I took control. But we don't give a lot of people that control.
That's right.
No, and the only advice my father ever gave me was, he said, do something you enjoy and you make lots of money in. And that was it, and of course I went into education or whatever it was. So, 1 out of 2 isn't bad, but it's the enjoyment part. And, for comedy wise, if it was, he would tell me to stay up late to watch Johnny Carson's monologue. So he knew about comedy. He knew about the magic. He was always very supportive. And I think if parents aren't supportive of their children's dreams, that's when that dream dies. And, even after grad school, when I started doing stand-up and, I told my dad I wanted to go into stand-up. He didn't, he didn't try to kill me. Of course, he was back home in South Florida and I was up here in Ohio. So I did it by a telephone call. But even then, he was like, if that's what you want to do, then you go be the best at it. And I think people need that support from their parents and their peers to help them. And, in comedy, like with Greg, you need those people to mentor you and take you under your wing. And, that's hard to find. But it all starts with that dream. And we don't want to kill those dreams of people.
Right. But you have to spend time with your kids, though.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people are now.
No, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just giving them a phone and go play or get out of my face, that's just not going to cut it. You got to listen and you've got to watch, and you can really help them along the way, even if that's not your forte or specialty. Like my parents, they don't have an art background. They know nothing about comedy or theater. My father was a welder, and my mom, she worked as a nurse for years and years. So they don't know anything about the art world. I had to pick all this up on my own and do my own self-study.
Right.
But they never discouraged me.
Right.
They always encouraged me, even for whatever I wanted to do. And I went through about 3, 4, 5 different career choices. So, I mean, there it is. I mean, when I decided to start my own DJ business, my parents helped me with that. And my father went with me and he helped me. He picked up the records and he, you know, and he helped me carry the equipment and we went to get on gigs together. I mean, that's how you help your kids. You got to spend time with them.
Yep, my dad would drive me to magic gigs when I didn't have my license.
Right.
And, he'd drop me off. I go, okay, come back in an hour. He would drive me to the magic meetings, whatever it was. He would be in the magic store. He would, I would always go practice the tricks and come out and do them in front of him and Dolly. That was my audience. It's those type of support things that, people that I think children really need and to pay attention to.
Well, and like I said, not everyone gets that. So the two of you in some ways have been very, very lucky having that support so you can be doing the things that you want to do. Although right now I know you're not doing all the things you want to do. You're sort of stuck at home. So Greg, how are you doing during this COVID time?
Oh, I'm finding it very hard, very difficult. Now I'm getting to the point where I'm almost scared to go back. Now, obviously, I'll have to just jump right in, and it is what it is. And but I think we're going to lose about a year here. Things aren't going to come back. Our 2020 is gone, and I see that the numbers are going way up in Florida. I don't have a gig until mid-July. And one of them that we're talking about, Jacksonville, Florida, I just watched the news and the numbers are way up. So who knows what's going to happen there? They could shut everything down. And I mean, obviously, I'm just going to try to take each day as it comes and focus on that. I can't really focus on the future or dwell in the past. So every day's Friday. That's at our house.
Well, maybe you should be writing a book.
Yeah. You know what? We should make them promise right now, Karen, to write a book.
No,
It'll take them 20 years. Yeah. By the end of the year, you're writing bits, so just write them in a book. That's all.
Karen, did you tell him to say
I said it.
Get that from him? Did you get that?
Look, put down the video games, Greg. Pick up a pen and write the book.
I just couldn't resist. Well, I mean, I know Michael goes out, he goes riding his bike, he walks, in the park, he goes down to the lake. So he's appreciating nature during this time.
Right.
Are you doing any of those things? Or are you just?
Well, it's different. In the city, you go out and you try to maintain social distance on a 3-foot sidewalk. You're supposed to maintain 6 feet of. I mean, it's impossible. And some people are wearing masks. Some people aren't. Some people don't believe in it. And they're walking around like this whole thing is over, and it's not over yet. And it's creating a lot of anxiety. You try to push that aside, but at the same time, we don't know everything about this. And I've written some things about it, but I don't like dwelling or talking about it because it just kind of brings back those feelings of anxiety. And now, I've written some things that I want to do when I finally do hit the stage and talk about, and hopefully they'll be funny. I don't know. I mean, it's so weird to be walking around in a place where everybody looks like they just robbed a stagecoach. It's just, everybody is so wary of other people because you can't see their face. And that's what we're used to seeing, as comedians. That's how we gauge and we judge a crowd, right? We look at their expressions and we go, oh, this person's enjoying the show. This person over here is not enjoying the show. And then we tweak and we change. And our thing is so social. We are such social beings, all of us. And to have this just yanked away from us, it is so difficult, such a challenge. Now, other people, some people just fight back. They go, like, no way, we're not doing this. And it's our freedom and it's our God-given right to not, and then other people, well, no, we have to be caring and we have to think about other people and we don't know what's gonna happen. But I'm really scared and I want to stay inside my own home. I think there's merit to both arguments. We don't know everything about this. I think that when this first happened, there was a lot of mixed messaging. They said don't wear a mask. Now they're saying wear a mask. So obviously trust is gone now. I mean, it's done, right? So I know but I know a lot of people really want to get this thing going again. They want live entertainment. They want to feel good. They want to gather. They want to commune. That's what we're meant to do.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's going to be hard.
Well, it's going to be hard, but you know what? It will happen. Um, Eventually, there's got to be a stop to this outbreak. Um, I'm sure the scientists are working very hard on it. At least I want to believe they are,
Mhm.
because we can't live like this the rest of our lives, and we got to bring the economy back. And
Right.
we
Right.
can do that if you guys are on stage and we're buying a beer or two while we're watching you perform. That's what
Right.
it's all about. So, in the meantime, you're going to start writing that book, correct?
I've already started writing it. It'll be about 12 pages. Lots of drawing.
That's perfect.
Maybe more of a graphic novel.
Well, I just figured if he could, get you to write a book, Michael, you should be able to get Greg to write a book.
Right.
Because
Right.
I'm sure he has some exciting things to tell us. And
Michael, can't you get me to do something else?
no,
I'm trying to get you to get more trophies in video games. But, I don't know if that's going to help other people out in the world. I mean, it helps you, sure, and your ego, but but society as a whole, I don't know.
It
No.
is funny that you should mention that because I had this great idea for a book, and that is I started to jot down some ideas for this, and it's a book about the art of performance. And a lot of times I talk to other comedians about performing, and you watch some comedians and their whole act is very rote. It just it sounds like they're reciting it, and I always try to coach people and get them to live it and feel their words and the emotion behind those words or the stories that they're telling and make those stories come to life and feel like it's kind of a lost art, like nobody seems to do that anymore or think it's important. If you close your eyes and you listen, some big comics, they kind of drone. There's a rhythm to it. It's like a la 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 la, boom, la 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 la, boom. It's there's a rhythm to it, but it's very very mono. It's just there's no emotion. And I don't mean that you need to be angry. Some comedians go, "Oh, emotion! I'll give you emotion. I'm angry. Here's what I'm angry about," and then they go on this big long tirade. And don't get me wrong. I love it. It's fun. Nobody likes a good rant more than me. But I look at a comedy act as more of a symphony, where there's highs and lows and quiet spots, and then some loud spots.
See, there's your book right there.
But yeah, exactly.
There's your book. Done.
Yeah.
So I know the two of you have this love interest over Star Wars. Do you both like Kiss? I mean, I know Michael lives.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Yep.
Interesting. Boy.
Yeah, I think Greg has more Star Wars toys than I do, and I have more Kiss merchandise than him.
So what is the toy that you have in front of you there?
What's that?
Your toy in front.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This,
So
That's the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, that's what I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So my oldest son had one. He had a real big one. And then he decided at the age of 11 to go move with his dad. So his mom, me, got very angry and I gave it away.
Ouch.
Oh, Karen.
I know. But those were the days, you know.
I still have mine. I still have a box of my Star Wars toys. I still have a Falcon, my X-wing fighter, a TIE fighter, my Yoda. Yeah, I still have all that stuff. I don't have kids, so once in a while I'll take it out and
That's good, Michael. I mean, because that way they can't break them.
right.
You don't want that happening.
No,
right.
they're worth a lot of money.
It's
Absolutely.
just like you don't want your kids touching your records. It's the same thing.
So do you have kids, Greg?
No, I am a big kid. What would we want two for?
Well, I just wondered, you're talking about you shouldn't let your kids touch your things. So I just wondered,
I've learned from watching. No birth control for me.
Oh my gosh. We need to get you both back on stage. You are both funny guys, but you know what? You have hearts of gold. And it's nice to know people out there that are as wonderful as the two of you. So I've adopted Michael as my son.
Keep it
Yes.
close.
It's great. It's great. I can bring her my laundry and I'll pick up some food, and I'm back in a couple of days, and it's fantastic.
And anytime you want matzo ball soup, it's available. So.
Just like going home.
And I don't make him sit in the bathroom when he comes here.
I'm waiting for Greg. Hey, Greg, there's some streaks behind you. You need to take that squeegee and get out of the shower.
That's my second job.
You have a tip
I'm
jar?
going to this right after this podcast. I'm going to.
Is there a tip jar in that bathroom?
I'll find one. Hang on. There's a tip jar here somewhere. I can't find it, but it's here somewhere.
Well, we'll make sure we give you a few tips. So you do deserve them. Have you done a podcast or a Zoom show of comedy during this time?
No, I've had a lot of requests lately, though, for virtual shows. And I'm just wondering how this thing's going to work. I've never done one before. I was going to be doing one for Star Wars Day, May the 4th. And it was going to be a special Star Wars show for these sales reps. But her main boss didn't get back to them. I don't know why. I think everybody's tight for money right now, and they didn't want to spring for the money. But it would have been such a great time, And I think a lot of people are just, they're watching their pocketbooks. Now I've got about 2 or 3 virtual inquiries right now. And it's going to be hard because I don't have a lot of the equipment. I need a green screen. Well, look, I'm doing this in the bathroom. So I don't know. We'll see. Me personally, I'd rather have a live audience, but I know I've got to make a living. So we'll see how this goes. I've also gotten an inquiry about a virtual fundraiser, and I don't know how that's going to work. Everybody thinks it's going to be, oh, yeah, it's just easy. You go up there and you do your little skit, and then people watch it and they give you, it's not the same, right?
No, especially your show, because you're so, you have the energy, the audience, you feed off the audience, and there's music, there's comedy, there's so much to it. It's just not a comedy show. It's an entertainment show. So
that's right. And I wear a dress during my show. Now, how do I make that work without looking creepy in a virtual context? It just looks weird. Like this guy needs to get out of the house more or get out of the closet more, one of the two. And he's wearing a dress. The context for that, it just doesn't fit, right?
Well, you could.
I started thinking about it the other day. I had nightmares. I thought, I can't.
You could make it happen. I have confidence.
You sound like
Look, she's telling you to do she's telling you to do virtual shows, to write a book. She's giving you a lot of crap to do, Greg.
Yes.
Meanwhile, what is she doing? I don't see it. I'm looking in the background. I see
Well-
some pictures and some old files.
Yeah. I only do about 22 shows a week. That's all.
Touche.
But I am so glad to have the two of you on today. We've been talking about Michael's book now for the last couple months. We're going to keep going forward with it because in July, show them your book. In July, you're going to go back and do your speaking engagements, correct?
I'm starting back up July 20, I think July 14th. I'm supposed to do one for Mad in Canfield, Ohio. So we'll see if that still goes through. But the 22nd and 23rd, I'm back at the Stowe Court. And for those, I know for the Stowe Court, there's like going to be, just 10 people each, and that's enough to social distance.
Right.
There. And then on the 24th is my 50th birthday. So for those two programs, I'm gonna try to do something different and new to kind of celebrate the 50th year of everything. So I'm starting to work on that now.
Well, that's exciting. And you
That's good.
don't look 50.
I don't mean to one up Michael, but here's a list of places I won't be. And seriously, I've got Monday, July the 20th. I'm going to be going to Myrtle Beach. That's a real hot spot for COVID. So I'm going to look and check and see if I can pick something up there. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not really comfortable with going back into these condos either. Like these comedy condos.
Right. Which were a pitch you just to begin with. Now,
right?
Yeah. But if you survive that, you'll survive COVID. So you're fine. You're okay. You're still alive and well. Look, you're okay. You'll be all right.
Maybe instead of wearing the dress, you should wear a hazmat suit.
What? You don't like it? I spray everything down.
Oh, you guys.
Oh.
Well, I'm so glad again that you joined us today. I'm glad that you're friends with Michael. So now I have to adopt you.
I don't know after this.
So we will do this again, Michael, in July.
Okay.
Celebrate your birthday. So maybe we should have a virtual birthday party for your next.
We could do that. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Your birthday is what again?
July 24th.
July 24th. Very cool.
That is perfect. So we should have a virtual birthday party and celebrate and talk more about the book. And you'll already have been out in public and
yeah, I'll be out in public not wearing a dress, unlike Greg.
Hey, how I celebrate my birthday is my own business.
Come on, that's your Tuesday. Come on now, we know.
Well, again, thanks so much. You guys have been very entertaining, and I want everybody to know that Greg Morton is a really great guy, and I'm glad that the two of you are really good friends.
Me too. And when Greg hits the road, I want everyone to go and see him because you need that escapism, you need those laughs, and you'll be disappointed if he comes to your town and you miss him. So definitely support him.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you very much. I really appreciate
So,
that.
I appreciate Greg your time.
Thanks, Karen.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.